the sun is setting. And not just here, but the sun in the United States is setting on an age of democracy. Right now, as you can see, by watching all the sources, all the news sources, all the commentators, and putting all together, the United States is got a foot right in autocracy. Given 6 months to a year, less than 5 years, someone has said, people now who all they really care about, Americans, is where they're going to get their groceries from and how much it's going to cost, where they're going to get a job. All those basic concerns right now are becoming a distraction for what they're actually losing. And they are about to lose their voice, their freedom to worship who they want to worship, their freedom not to worship at all, their freedom to even doubt the existence of God, let alone worship a God they believe in. Because the United States, Donald Trump and his regime, which I believe it is more his regime, like Stephen Miller and the gang, that are pushing things than it is actually Donald Trump. I think he's basically a figurehead that's a puppet who, yes, he agrees with all these objectives, but in the end, all he really cares about is himself and how he can benefit from it. So if he can benefit from an autocracy, I mean, let's face it, look at his history. The people that he's admired so much and he falls in love with them is like Viktor Orban of Hungary, Putin of Russia. These brutal dictators, these are his friends. These are his people, his kin. So in all of this, he's getting what he wants. He thinks he's a supreme king, but he's actually a supreme narcissist. There probably has never been a narcissist so great than Donald Trump. So he's able to hit up this regime of individuals who want to take over and force, if not extreme right, very far right viewpoints on society, to the destruction of other such views. So what you had in America was a country where you could speak your mind, you could disagree, you could protest, you could even burn the flag, which was a national right for Americans to protest. Now, if you don't believe in the Christian God, if you burn the flag, if you have any left leanings whatsoever, you can be investigated. Yeah, you can be investigated just for being a liberal left-wing thinker. Now that's extremely terrifying. But after a long day's work, and you still have a decent job, and yes, the more workers that he fires and lays off and goes on furlough, then the less there are to do the jobs. So the people that are working, those ones are actually working even harder. So when they come home at the end of the day, they don't have, unless they're like really dedicated, like Fox News viewers, they really don't have any time to concern themselves. I have family in the United States. It's very clear to see what's going on. And when I talk to them, They're like, oh, we don't listen to the news. Don't listen to the news. No, don't know what's going on. Just plug your ears. Yeah, and these are good people, but they work hard and they're, raising a family. And other things happen. We have health issues that we deal with. All kinds of things. So this is what's happening. Probably the average American is just so stunned. I mean, think about this. Has there ever been a time in history that in the 7 months, 9 months, or whatever of a president's presidency, that every day was a 4-5 alarm fire, that every day something was happening, that there was an emergency, not out somewhere else, not just in Palestine or in Europe or China, but right at home, a contrived emergency, a panic, things that aren't even there. Donald Trump is saying things like in Oregon, there are uprisings and burnings and yet I heard of I'm not sure if it was a senator or a congresswoman or whoever it was. They disagreed with things that were going on, and their house, just coincidentally, had caught on fire. So this is where we're at. This is where we're at. That if the shoe would have been flipped, if the left was doing these things, then the people that are right-leaning in the States would have been, the Republicans would have been crying havoc and let loose the dogs of war. So this is what's going on, and this is what we're facing. I'll circle back this way, and I don't know. States is in a crisis. There's never going to be a situation quite like this again, and there has never been a situation like this before. And little chipmunk flying across there. And what is the state's going to do? It seems like all of the so-called, I remember listening to a YouTube commentator, just months ago, who said, when this all started, he was very, I don't know if glib is the word, but it was like, no worries. The United States has a very good system for pushing back against autocracy. It has Congress, it has the judicial system. There's 3 arms of government, the executive, and if the executive fails, then Congress or the judicial system will make up for it. But guess what? They're all falling one by one like dominoes. And all the other institutions outside of that, like the education institution, the universities, and even the media, we can see YouTube being paid off $25 million. Maybe this won't even get posted because of that. But they're all paying off Donald Trump, making him rich. And then he has speeches. He has political speeches in front of the military, which is, it's a no-no. You're not supposed to bring. They are supposed to be apolitical. They are supposed to serve the Constitution, not a king, not a view of left or right, but to serve the Constitution and its people. But here we are. They're all falling. They're all being bought. They're all being paid off. They're all afraid for their jobs. And then the ones that aren't, they're retiring early or quitting. So they're not going to be there to stand up. You're really looking at the possibility here of full-on, within a year or 2 years, full-on autocracy, fascist control. I know, it just sounds incredible. I'll soon be 62. I grew up on all the old movies and stuff, the American shows, the John Waynes and the, all the old war movies and westerns where they fought for what was right, at least. Even if you didn't agree with the right-wing or Republican look, even if you didn't even think much of John Wayne or whatever, But all these, even the movie heroes of the time, so the right lean, they were trying to fight for, yeah, I know there was the Ronald Reagan thing, and many people say he's the one that kind of started this whole ball rolling where the rich could get richer, you know, at the expense of the poor. And that could be it. That could be the way. But at least at that moment in history, you could actually count on right-wingers to have some sense of decency and concern for those that disagreed with them. They believed that they would agree to disagree, and to give you your, now it's to give you your speech, your ability to say what you wish, and you know, to have your freedom of speech. So what we're seeing here, and it's going to be shocking, but within months, 2 years, whatever, we're gonna. I really feel frightened for my family that is in the States. I don't think they see it as seriously because they're so busy. Like I said, their lives are so busy. But and others, you know, this is a really key point right here. I hear it all the time, and I think people are they're basing it on this. They're saying, I am not going get too concerned about this whole thing because we're going to vote him out. We're going to vote him out. But have you noticed that as the polls are going down, as Trump's popularity is fading, I mean, he's dropping in the polls, the economy is really slipping away. I mean, you know, like the stock market is kind of holding its own for now, but overall, he's got a system now where all the money's he's funneling into the rich, the billionaires. They're about to lose their Medicare in the United States. Many people are going to die just simply because they can't get to a doctor to maybe get some cancer screening or whatever. So here's the thing. Here's the main thing right now. Most Americans are thinking, well, the system is going to be such that I am going to wait until I can vote him out. But look what he's doing. In all the Democratic states, he is putting in. He's trying to put in some form of force or military, plus ICE is underneath it all, going about doing their thing, trying to just like you saw in Nazi Germany, people being ripped off the streets. Yeah, just disappearing, they call it. So what people are thinking, and this is the crux of it right here, that people don't understand, there's not going to be an election. That's the direction we're going here. There's not going to be an election, and what's going to happen is Trump is going to stay in power, and then that power is going to be handed over to somebody else who's running the system. This is what's going to happen. And people don't seem prepared for that. They don't seem to know that this is just, it's just pissing away their democracy. And yeah, and it's just not going to come back, not that same way, not without violence even. See, that's the kicker. The kicker here is that when you talk about trying to get this all back, and peaceful demonstrations, if they're not happening enough right now, what's going to happen? It's going to end up in violence. And that violence is going to bring on more violence, where it gives Trump the right, in his mind, to decree an emergency where he needs to bring in more forces to quell the rebellion. And you're going to have guards, and as I was saying, people in where voting booths are, and the voting booths will be protected, quote unquote, by those who are going to claim that there's been voter fraud, the machines aren't right, or whatever, and they'll just whisk away all those votes to be counted elsewhere, recounted maybe. So you see what's happening here? There is a group of people who are damn set on actually trying to get away with democracy and bring about tyranny. It's that simple. It is that simple. And if I were an American right now, I would do everything I could to either fight or get out. Okay, guys, that's it for now. That's my little blurb on what's happening. And as a Canadian, it's scary too, because, well, in several years, I believe that everything Trump says, even if it's a joke, it's something that he is he's determined to bring about. These little jokes are his way of introducing ideas into the schema of things such that eventually we'll cave and go in that direction. It's to prepare our minds. It's to take away the shock factor so that we'll be used to whatever he says, what he ever jokes about, you know, he's going to bring it about. Okay, so that's it for now. I'll fill you in more, but these are scary times. You guys have a good one. Bye.